Unfortunately, the mythical perfect wardrobe that we have in our head doesn't exist, but not for the reasons that we might think. It's really easy and convenient to believe that eventually, if we just shop enough and we buy the right things, that we're going to reach a point where we're completely satisfied with our wardrobes and we're never going to want to buy something else again. The reality is that most of us have a wardrobe that is perfectly good. It is full of clothes that we enjoy wearing, we get compliments on, we feel good when we're wearing them, but there's still just this nagging feeling that it could be better. I believe that feeling is part human nature, part societal conditioning and consumerism. So that's what we're going to be talking about in today's video. During my time as a personal stylist, working with clients and also doing my own research on fashion psychology, I've really determined that a lot of the dissatisfaction, I keep trying to say unsatisfaction, and that's not a word. All the dissatisfaction that we feel about our clothing really has nothing to do with the clothing itself. It might be something deeper, and if we don't deal with those things, then shopping over and over and over really isn't going to get us to where we want with our wardrobe. The first reason that I think that people are chronically dissatisfied with their clothing is FOMO. It makes our clothing decisions, our beauty routines, the things that we have feel more like an obligation rather than a creative expression. Instead of letting our clothes and how we express ourselves with our appearance go with the flow of our lives and how we're changing as a person, it's on this external timeline that isn't really natural. And as we know, the trend cycle is getting faster and faster every single year. So it is leaving us in this constant state of trying to keep up, making sure we're not falling behind, which is putting us in a state of lack and is taking away what clothing and beauty products or whatever it is, what they should actually mean in our lives. FOMO, when it comes to trends, also really drives overconsumption. Think about how many times that you've been just so excited, so maybe even desperate to buy something, and then once that wears off, you realize, I didn't even like this. I didn't even want this. And then you're stuck with this thing that isn't bringing any value to your life and is no longer bringing you any sort of pleasure or excitement. And that really leads into my second point, which is that when we focus on getting something instead of how we're going to feel when we actually have it, that makes your stuff a lot less special. Instead of deriving pleasure and happiness from the actual item that you're bringing into your life, you are getting your pleasure out of obtaining the item, out of consumerism. And what does that mean? You have to be constantly buying more and more and more to get that same level of gratification, excitement from the purchases that you're making. This is something that I used to struggle with. I definitely think I had a bit of a shopping addiction, and if I don't keep it in check now, it can definitely start to creep back up. But what has really helped me was to realize that disappointment or boredom are not bad things. They're just a part of life. A lot of us use shopping and clothes and beauty products as a way to avoid having negative feelings. We want to constantly be chasing pleasure and we don't want to have those downtimes. And then that is also coupled with impatience. We want things immediately. We don't want to wait for them. We don't want to save for them. I really had to start embracing disappointment as a part of life, also delaying my gratification. Because if you don't do those things and you constantly give yourself everything that you want, number one, you might find yourself in a bad financial state, but you also are going to find that life feels a little more dull. The things you're buying, what you're doing, it doesn't feel as special anymore because you're doing it constantly. I had to train myself that the things that I really want, they're going to be worth waiting for. And the waiting is actually going to bring more satisfaction. It's actually going to make me enjoy those things more because they're going to mean more in my life. And they're typically going to be things that I actually wanted because I didn't impulse buy them. I didn't just buy them to buy something. I put a lot of thought into them. I chose them specifically and I put a lot of effort into getting them. The third reason that you're probably never going to be completely satisfied with your clothing is a concept called hedonic adaptation. This is a part of human nature where we are typically the same level of happiness or unhappiness no matter what is going on in our lives. And there's definitely nuance to the subject because a part of our happiness we can definitely control, but there is a certain level that is just genetic and is just who you are as a person. When we apply this to shopping and buying new clothes, you can buy something new and it is going to make you happier for a while and you're going to derive pleasure from this thing for a while. But eventually you're going to get used to it. It's just going to be commonplace and it's no longer going to be new. it is no longer going to bring you pleasure, and you're going to return back to the same level of happiness that you were before you got that thing. So even if you bought a whole new wardrobe, eventually you're going to return to this place where you're not completely satisfied, you feel like you need to buy new things, and your wardrobe just isn't good enough. One way to combat this that I've shared with clients in the past is that when you have a piece of clothing that it's perfectly good, it's still your style, it still fits, it's still in good condition, but you're just not feeling as excited about it anymore, is to tap into your gratitude for that piece. Remembering what it felt like, how excited you were when you first bought that piece, when you wore it for the first time, and recreating those emotions in your body, feeling them again to kind of reinvigorate your excitement for that piece. Another more general way to deal with this is to make sure that shopping and consumerism are not your only ways to derive happiness in your life. Like I said earlier, there is nuance to this subject, that there are certain things that you can do to boost your level of happiness. If your physical and emotional and psychological needs are not being met on a baseline level, then there is a gap in happiness that could be filled if you took care of those things first. So if you find that you're shopping to fill in a hole for something else, maybe you need to address those issues first to bring up your overall level of happiness in your life. I would love to hear from y'all in the comments. Do you struggle with any of these things? Did you used to struggle with them? How did you overcome them to feel more satisfied with your wardrobe? Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.